Hello, Jonathan here again, here in one of our stores at the Royal Armouries with our weekly weapon, and I think it's extra justified calling it a weapon, not specifically a firearm, because it's a really wonderful combination weapon, which is a sort of subclass of arms and armour, where you try to combine, try is an operative word often, some sort of edged weapon with some sort of firearm, is usually what we mean by a combination weapon. And this is an old one from the old Tower collection at the Tower of London. And we don't have a great deal of specific history on it, as is often the case. But we do know what it is. So firstly, the obvious bits out of the way. This is in fact a flintlock pistol, essentially. Maybe a 10-inch barrel, something like that. This one, we don't quite know when it was manufactured, but the type generically came into existence in 1703. We happen to know that. This one is probably 10, 20 years later. The curve of the lock, the lack of a bridle on the pan tends to suggest first half of the 18th century. It does still have a dog, or a safety catch, essentially. That's not perhaps as diagnostic as it would be on an English firearm. And it does in fact have, it's one of those transitional type flintlocks that does have a half-cock position. This is really just an insurance policy. So it's not in any meaningful way a dog lock, and that term is problematic anyway, because lots of things can have a lock with a dog on it, basically. It doesn't really describe any specific type. Anyway, the fascinating bit, of course, is the forged steel axe blade and back spike, and the elongated grip for use as a carbine. So in common with perhaps a modern American pistol by legal definition, where there's not a formal buttstock on it, this can be used to steady your aim, but is not a full-on buttstock, because of course if it did have a flat plate on the end of it, that would compromise its use as a boarding axe, because that's what this is. This is a Swedish Navy boarding axe pistol. This was an officially produced, officially issued type of firearm. One of the few combination weapons that is A, arguably truly effective, I think, and B, actually used by a military, or a navy, in fact. They have accommodated sights on this. So on the axe head is a little bead sight, like we have on modern shotguns. The back spike is split such that you could, when it was new and clean, you could actually sight using the little rudimentary rear sight there, down the barrel, and look at the front sight. So that's, fairly precision bit of kit for this type of technology. And it just feels robust. It feels like it would work. It's reasonably lightweight. You could in fact thrust with it using the sort of knife point profile of the front of the main blade, of the axe blade. It's obviously got a lot of cutting surface, as you would want from a boarding axe, and the back spike for hooking, potentially for use to help you climb up the side of a ship, who knows. And it has a lanyard / single point sling / wrist strap loop on the base of it as well, so that if you have to let it go or you drop it, you don't lose it. Really quite an impressive bit of kit. So this was invented by a senior Swedish admiral, and quite a well-to-do chap, I believe, called Eric Sjöblad, is the best I can do. I'm so sorry, Swedes. You speak our language so incredibly well, and here we are mangling yours. I believe it's more of Schoblad, something like that. I'll stop while I'm behind. And this chap was one of a few, or relative few, senior officers in history who actually turned their hand to, I don't know if he designed this or simply was a patron of it, and there's another designer behind the scenes, but nonetheless, he's the one that put this forward and got it adopted. So from 1703 through to, we believe, the early 19th century, there were even percussion versions of this. I'm not sure if they were made that way or if they're all conversions. I've not looked at any. We only have this one. Something that I wasn't aware of until I looked into this just before recording is that, sadly, this is not complete. We are missing part of this gun, effectively. Now, normally, you'd have a ramrod or rammer under the barrel. Can't do that here, of course. You've got too much gubbins going on to secure this axe head. So what they did was hollow out the handle, which reduces a bit of weight as well. That's not the main point. And in that hole would have been the ramrod. How it was secured, I'm not sure, but you can sort of see the ghost of a typical trumpet-shaped flanged head. I imagine it was a friction fit. There's no screw thread or anything there. And sadly, we had that ramrod in 1916. Some point before we became an accredited museum, that ramrod was lost, which is a real shame. So, any Swedes in the comments that know more about these, please do chime in. But this has always been my favourite of our combination weapons, and we have lots of those. Perhaps we'll show you more of those as time goes on. So there we are, guys. Really very cool, piratical gun blade of sorts. Nice long iron langets on the stock to keep everything nice and strong. And the trigger guard is attached to those. So actually a really fascinating bit of design. The breech, the tang of the barrel forms one langet to keep this all nice and strong, the wood and the steel together. And then the second langet runs from the head, nice and secure, pinned over at the top here, runs along the underside of the gun / axe, all the way down to here. So you've really, it's so robust. You could use this thing in an actual boarding party fight on the deck of a ship for as long as you need to, because you've got one shot and then you've got an axe. Brilliant. I really like it. Okay, guys, thank you again for joining us. Another one next week. More over on the GameSpot channel. If you want to donate to us or become a member, there are links up in the description. Otherwise, just carry on watching. Thanks very much. Bye.